Hello and welcome back to Side High Tech. In this video, I'm going to show you to make a device that creates tornadoes inside of a jar. Let's get started. And these are the items that you're going to need to make for this project. The items you're going to need is a tall glass jar, taller the better. You're also going to need some glitter to place inside of the jar so it can act like debris that is picked up from the tornado, so that way you can see the tornado better. You're also going to need this PC cooling fan, which I'm going to attach a neodymium magnet on the center of the fan so that way you can spin the other neodymium magnets to make the tornado effect. You're also going to need a 9-volt battery clip, a 9-volt battery. You're also going to need an LM317 voltage regulator, which will be used to control the speed of the PC cooling fan. You're also going to need a 10k ohm potentiometer, a 10 microfarad electrolytic capacitor, a 104 nanofarad ceramic capacitor, a 680 ohm resistor, 2 LED strips, which will be a total of 6 LEDs, a slide switch, 4 neodymium magnets. Also, you're going to need a Perfboard. You're also going to need some wires to wire the circuit together. Now, let's go ahead and assemble this project and let's get started. First, I'm going to take the LM317 and place it into the Perfboard, and then solder it into place. Next, I'm going to take this 680 ohm resistor and connect it to the center pin of the LM317, which is the voltage output. And I'm going to bend over one lead over to the voltage output, and bend the other lead in the opposite direction. Solder them both into place, and then solder bridge it to the voltage output. Cut off the excess. Cut off the excess. Next, I'm going to take the 104 nanofarad ceramic capacitor and place it into the Perfboard right here, just like this. Bend over one of the leads over to the voltage input of the LM317. Next, bend over the voltage input lead from the LM317 towards the 104 nanofarad ceramic capacitor. Solder it into place and solder bridge it to the voltage input. And I'll solder in the second lead of the ceramic capacitor. Next, I'm going to take the 9-volt battery clip, connect the positive lead over to the ceramic capacitor, which also connects to the voltage input of the LM317. Clamp it down, bend over the lead, solder it into place, and then solder bridge it to the voltage input. Next, take the negative wire from the 9-volt battery clip and connect it to the remaining lead of the ceramic capacitor. Clamp it down, bend over the lead, solder it into place, and solder bridge it to the ceramic capacitor. Next, I'm going to take the 10k ohm potentiometer and I want to place it right here. The leads don't quite fit into the Perfboard, so I need to make the holes a little bit bigger. And now put the potentiometer into place. There we go, just like that. Solder it into place. Next, I want to connect the remaining lead from the 680 ohm resistor over to the center pin of the potentiometer. Solder bridge it together, cut off the excess, and there. Next, I want to bend over the lead, which is the adjust pin from the LM317, and bend it over to the 680 ohm resistor, which is connected to the center pin of the potentiometer. Solder bridge it together, just like this. Next, I'm going to take the 10 microfarad electrolytic capacitor, where this pin is positive, and this pin is negative. And I'm going to place it into the Perfboard, just like this. Bend over the leads, and bend over the voltage output lead from the LM317, and then solder in the electrolytic capacitor, and then solder in the voltage output, Bend over the lead from the positive of the electrolytic capacitor. Take a bridge wire and bridge over the positive of the electrolytic capacitor and bridge it over to the voltage output pin of the LM317. Solder bridge together, just like this. And there, should look just like this. Cut off the excess. Next, I'm going to take this bridge wire and connect it to the negative of the electrolytic capacitor and bring it over to one of the pins of the potentiometer. Solder it into place and solder bridge it together. And there we go, she'll look just like this. Next, I'm going to take this negative wire and solder it to the negative of the electrolytic capacitor. And then solder this wire to the common ground. Next, I'm going to connect the PC cooling fan to the output of the circuit. Connect the negative wire over to the negative of the capacitor and the positive wire over to the positive of the capacitor. And then solder bridge it over to the common ground. Next, connect the positive wire from the PC cooling fan and connect it to the positive of the electrolytic capacitor. Solder it into place and then solder bridge it to the output. And there, the circuit is now complete. And now let's go ahead and test it out by taking the 9-volt battery, connect it into place just like that. You can already see it's doing something. Let's turn the potentiometer. You can stop it, and as you can see, it turns off. Now turn the knob to turn it on. Now go faster, then faster, and faster. And now, what I would have done is I would have attached these two LED strips to this whole circuit. But since these work off from minimum 9 volts, and I need to take these and connect them directly to the 9-volt battery. But I'm not going to do that yet because I want to first assemble a 3D printed housing and place this inside so that way these can go underneath. And I want to make sure they go underneath, and I need the wire length to add wire to these LED strips and then stick them onto the 3D printed platform that this is going to go on top of, and this is going to go on top of, just like that. And I need the wires, and I'm not sure what the length is yet until the housing is done. And I want to connect these LED strips directly to the 9-volt battery. This right here is a 3D printed housing for this project. This part here is the main housing for the electronics. That part is where the jar will sit on top of. These two pieces here is the stir rod to cause the tornado to form. Next, I'm going to connect these magnets to these stir rods. Simply by placing them in just like this. Keep them all facing the same direction. The reason for that is so that way they can both be attracted to each other. This part's very important, and as you can see, when I put them both together, they'll stick just like that. One will connect to the PC cooling fan, and the other will connect inside of the jar. As you can see, I need to glue them into place. Put a little bit of super glue inside of the hole, place the magnet inside, and there we go. They don't come apart, and as you can see, they're very attracted to each other. If I space it out just this much, and then when one rotates, it'll force the other one to rotate as well. Next, I'm going to solder tin the connectors from these LED strips. Doing that will allow me to solder the wires in easier. Next, what I want to do is take a quick measurement by taking these two LED strips, and I want to space them apart just enough so that way they can shine between the blades of the fan. And I'll measure out a wire that is about 7 centimeters. Solder in the two negatives together, just like this. Next, what I want to do is connect these two wires to the LED strip and connect that over to the voltage input of the circuit. Solder that negative wire over to the common ground. Solder the positive. Next, what I want to do is place the circuit inside the housing. Put in the washer and nut. tighten the nut. Next, I want to connect the slide switch to the circuit, and I want to take the positive from the 9-volt battery clip and the positive of the LEDs and attach it to the same slide switch. Cut the positive wire from the 9-volt battery clip, remove the insulation, solder tin it, next I'm going to take all of the positive wires from the circuit and put them all through this hole. Place them in just like this. I want to take the positive wire from the circuit and the positive wire from the LEDs, and I want to connect them both to the center pin of the slide switch. And then take the positive wire from the 9-volt battery clip and solder it to the second pin of the slide switch.
Now, the LED should turn on, and so should the fan. And there, it works. The fan goes off. Fan goes on, and the LEDs are on. Not very bright, that's because of the 9-volt battery. Of course, if I were to add another 9-volt battery to make 12 volts, 18 volts, then it will work better, but then it will overpower the fan, and these LEDs will be a little bit too bright. So I don't want to do that. And I'm using the voltage regulator, and I could accidentally turn the voltage too high, and it will cause these to blow out. But just for the effect for the tornado, I don't really want a bright, intense light, because otherwise it'll look, see, it's a little too bright when it's off. But when I turn it on, it'll be too bright. And I want it to be a little dull, so that way the tornado has a glow, not a glare.
Next, I'm going to take the slide switch and glue it into place. Put a very small amount of glue, enough to be able to glue the switch into place, but not cause the switch to not move. If you put too much glue, the glue can go inside of the switch and cause it to be blocked. Spray some activator, push down the switch, and there, the switch is now glued into place. Next, I'm going to remove the paper that is on the LED strips to reveal the sticky side of the LED strips. Place them in just like this. There we go, perfect. And now take the PC cooling fan, place it on top, take the 9-volt battery, connect it to the 9-volt battery clip, turn it on to see if it works, and as you can see, it works. Next, what I want to do is I want to put some more super glue on the LED strips to make sure they stay in place better. Also, glue down the wires, so that way they don't touch the blades of the PC cooling fan. And there we go, put the PC cooling fan back into place, turn it on to test it, and there, no problem. Place the 9-volt battery in the back, just like this. Place this grill on top, which is going to hold the jar into place. And now take the stir rod, and I want to glue it in the very center of the fan. Put some hot glue on the center of the fan, just like this. Take the stir rod and glue it into place. Make a quick test to make sure that it spins without vibrations. And as you can see, it's very stable. Next, I'm going to take this second stir bar and this bag of glitter, and I'm going to place them both inside of the jar. And as you can see, I put water inside the jar, and now I'm going to take the stir bar, drop it inside, and then close the lid. Place it on top of the device, and now let's go test it out. And as you can see, the magnet is attracted to the other magnet, but not very strong, which makes me a little concerned. But let's go turn it on and test it out and see how it looks. Oh, unfortunately it's not working so well. It appears that this device requires more magnets, so I'm going to take more magnets and place it on top of these magnets, and see if I can get it a little bit closer and maybe increase the magnetic field. Hopefully this works. Almost. And now add 2 more magnets. And let's see if this works. Oh, works a little bit better. Still, not strong enough. What I'm going to do is replace this stir bar magnet with some even bigger magnets. This one is much stronger, so it should work. But first, I need to change the level. I remove these legs that are on the bottom of this fan to lower it. There we go, lower down just like that. No vibrations. That's very good. And now I'm going to go and place this grill on top. Just like this. Instead of using this stir bar that has 2 magnets, I'm going to use this stir bar that has 6 magnets. This should actually work. Drop it in just like this. Put the lid on top. Before I continue testing, I'm going to take this PC cooling fan and glue it down so that way it doesn't move. There we go, glued into place. And now I'm going to go and take some super glue and glue down this grill part. And now it's time to place the jar on top. And as you can see, the magnets are a lot more attracted. Perfect. Turn it on. Ah, I can see a little tornado. Excellent. Excellent. Now, let's see how this looks in a better view. Turn on the switch, turn the knob, and there you have it, a little tornado inside of a jar. And of course, a bunch of trial and error leads to success. And now, let's see how this looks in the dark. And as you can see, this looks very nice in the dark, but unfortunately the camera doesn't do it justice. When I look at it in person, I can actually see the tornado spinning inside the dark. However, I believe I might have put too much glitter inside of the jar, and the LED lights are not too bright. And as you can see, looking at it in a different angle, you can see it much better with normal light. But you can tell I put too much glitter inside. However, tornadoes aren't supposed to be clean, so there's supposed to be a bunch of debris anyways. One more experiment I want to try is I want to connect this device directly to my lab bench power supply, and I want to apply exactly 12 volts to this device. Doing this should make the LED lights much brighter and make the fan spin much faster. And as you can see, a little bit too much power, so I need to turn that potentiometer much lower. But you can see that it looks much better. Let's see how this looks in the dark. And as you can tell, this looks a lot better. The LED lights are much brighter, as expected. What I wanted to do with this device is I wanted to make it portable, so that way I can only use batteries. But if you want, you can add an actual 12-volt power supply. Adding a 12-volt power supply will give you this result, which is actually much better, but you'll have some limitations by having to plug it into the wall and not being able to move it anywhere. But if this is staying inside of your room or office or anywhere where it doesn't need to move around, then this will be just fine. And there you have it. Now you know how to make your very own tornado in a jar with using just a few simple components. And there you have it. Thank you for watching Sci-Fi Tech. I hope you learned something new, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and of course click on the bell icon to be notified for future Sci-Fi Tech videos. Till the next tech, goodbye.